Our sun has sent out the strongest solar flare of 2025. And it sparked radio blackouts across Europe, Asia, West Asia. But scientists say this is just the beginning and warn of more severe consequences as the sun emits powerful bursts of energy. Our next story, getting you the details.
The sun has spoken with a warning. On May 13th, our star erupted with the most powerful solar flare of the year. An absolute monster that sent shockwaves across the solar system. This is the latest image captured by NASA. Classified as X-class, the flare is the most intense and is part of a growing trend as the sun nears the peak of its 11-year activity cycle. These violent eruptions are becoming more frequent and powerful. According to NASA and NOAA, more flares and geomagnetic storms could hit Earth in the coming weeks. While the world watched auroras dance in unusual latitudes, experts warned this is just the start of intense solar flares. But the real danger may still be ahead, with more powerful flares on the way. As scientists caution, the sun is entering the peak of its 11-year cycle. Many experts warn that humanity is woefully unprepared for a truly catastrophic solar storm. Experts warn that a flare on the scale of the 1859 Carrington event could fry satellites, cripple power grids, and even trigger nuclear plant malfunctions and plunge entire continents into darkness. Despite repeated warnings, global infrastructure remains exposed. There are few backup systems for GPS, aviation, or grid control. Governments are yet to invest in robust solar weather forecasting or harden critical systems against electromagnetic pulses. As the sun's fury grows, so does the risk. The question is no longer if, but when the next solar superstorm will strike, and if Earth will be ready to face the darkness.
Elon Musk's AI chatbot, Grok, just spent a full day hijacking random conversations to talk about white genocide in South Africa. It started when users on X noticed something odd. Grok was injecting references to white genocide in South Africa into completely unrelated conversations. Ask Grok about a baseball player's salary, it brings up South African farm attacks. Comment on HBO Max's rebranding, somehow Grok also connects this to white genocide. One user jokingly asked Grok to explain a tweet from Pope Leo XIV about how war is never inevitable in Fortnite terms. Grok's response? A monologue about violence against white farmers. This wasn't a one-off. Grok referenced the same white genocide narrative for hours. The messages have since been removed, but of course, the screenshots live on. So what does Grok have to say for itself? In a follow-up, Grok said it was caused by a technical glitch and that the issue has been fixed. Grok is part of xAI, pitched as an alternative to what Musk calls woke AI and legacy media that avoid politically incorrect topics. Elon Musk has previously claimed that the media ignores stories like white genocide in South Africa because they don't align with the idea that white people can be victims. Just a day before Grok's glitch, Musk posted a photo of white crosses along a South African road, claiming they honored murdered white farmers. In reality, they memorialized people of all races. The theory of white genocide in South Africa has been widely debunked. While some white farmers have been attacked, South Africa has one of the highest overall murder rates in the world, affecting all racial groups. The claim that white people are being specifically targeted is often associated with far-right talking points. Here's how progressive writer Mehdi Hasan describes the theory of a white genocide.
It's a story, or a theory, if you will, about liberal elites secretly changing our demographics, helping black and brown immigrants to invade America and replace white people. It's a white supremacist story about so-called white genocide.
So why did Grok go off the rails? Some think Grok was reacting to a spike in conversation on X after President Trump promoted a refugee program for white South African farmers. It is possible that Grok, which may use real-time data from X, may have been influenced by the recent chatter. Others point to a broader issue in AI called hallucination, when a chatbot fixates on false or off-topic information. Grok's outburst has once again raised concerns about how chatbots handle sensitive topics and what influences their behavior.
The Department of Homeland Security is requesting the help of around 20,000 National Guard troops to assist with immigration enforcement. The department's ask of the Pentagon comes as illegal crossings at the southern border fall to historic lows. If the request is approved, it would mark the first time in American history National Guard troops are used to enforce immigration policy. The New York Times first reported on the plan, citing a pair of U.S. officials familiar with the matter. The proposal is being reviewed by the Department of Defense and follows President Trump's order for DHS to increase its personnel numbers by reassigning 20,000 from state and federal agencies. There are no reports on what the troops' duties would be if tasked with immigration enforcement, and it's unclear if states impacted would allow them to be deployed. Officials did not reveal to the Times where the Guard members would be stationed if deployed. There are currently thousands of U.S. military personnel at the southern border where illegal crossings have hit historic lows. Border Patrol reports March saw a 95% decrease from the same time last year. National Guard troops are traditionally used as backups for federal authorities at the border, not for active enforcement. They often provide logistical support and intelligence gathering. A DoD official tells the Times this would mark the first time, if given the green light, National Guard troops would be directly enforcing immigration enforcement. The plan ramps up the Trump administration's ability to arrest and deport more undocumented immigrants. Trump vowed pre- and post-election to conduct the largest deportation operation in U.S. history, and that will require significantly greater tools. To meet those needs, Trump moved agents and officers from federal ranks, including from the Department of Justice. The administration revealing recently it's pulling around 2,000 agents from several agencies, including the U.S. Marshals and DEA, as well as the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. The Trump administration has also entered agreements with local law enforcement agencies to initiate immigration arrest. The DoD also has a buffer zone along the U.S.-Mexico border, authorizing the U.S. Army to arrest anyone caught in the designated area. Civil rights lawyers say it's unconstitutional to use troops for civil arrest. For more on this story,
boiling over in Mexico, where dozens of college students have vanished and their families fear the worst.
10 years later, 43 missing college students, and now one former judge is tied to their disappearance and their presumed death. This week, Mexican authorities made the arrest of Lambertina Galeana for her role in 2014. On Wednesday, the former president of the Superior Court Justice found herself on the other side of the bench, facing charges of forced disappearance and concealing video evidence detailing the abduction of students in Iguala. Mexican media outlet El País says armed men can allegedly be seen on video in front of the judicial building where Galeana worked at the time. 8 years later, in 2022, the Truth and Access to Justice Commission said Galeana ordered the security footage to be destroyed during her tenure. In September of 2014, 43 students from Ayotzinapa School were planning a demonstration in Mexico City when they vanished. Their families and community suspected the government and drug cartels were behind the crime because in the Mexican town, kidnappings were a part of their daily lives.
The Mexican government has charged Abarca for the college students' kidnapping. 3 gang members have also been arrested.
With support from Mexico's former president, the Truth Commission labeled the students' disappearance a state crime and for the first time acknowledged the military's role in the incident. Investigators theorize the students were turned over to a drug cartel with the help of local police, but the reason why remains a mystery. Only the remains of 3 of the students have been found and identified by family. The community continues to protest the case year after year, calling for justice and closure.
We began it today in the United States, which is examining the development of a new war plan. During his state visit to Qatar, U.S. President Donald Trump announced plans for a twin-engine upgrade to the F-35 fighter jet, a variant he referred to as the F-55. The president's remarks came as he unveiled a separate $96 billion deal between Qatar Airways, Boeing, and GE Aerospace.
F-35, we're doing an upgrade, a simple upgrade, but we're also doing an F-55. I'm going to call it an F-55. And that's going to be a substantial upgrade, but it's going to be also with two engines because the F-35 has a single engine on.
The president also spoke of a modernized version of the F-22 produced by Lockheed Martin, which is described as the F-22 Super. He added that while China may have copied the U.S. aircraft designs, it won't be able to replicate American engine technology.
I think the most beautiful fighter jet in the world is the F-22, but we're going to do an F-22 Super, and it'll be a very modern version of the F-22 fighter jet.
Now, the F-22 and the F-35 are both fifth-generation stealth fighters designed for different missions. The F-22 is a twin-engine, single-seat fighter jet built for air superiority that's able to evade radar and engage enemy aircraft with speed and agility. In comparison, the F-35 is a single-engine, multi-role fighter aircraft designed for both strike missions and defensive operations. Now, the president's announcements come amid ongoing debates over the future of the F-22 program, with Congress reportedly blocking U.S. Air Force plans to retire the jet in favor of next-generation designs such as Boeing's F-47. The comment also follows his request to Congress for a national defense budget of over $890 billion for fiscal year 2026. The White House says it will help rebuild the military and revive U.S. deterrence, but senior lawmakers warn the budget represents a real-term cut that may limit President Trump's strategic options. So far, the Pentagon has not confirmed the F-35 or F-22 Super programs, and the White House has offered no further details. With no blueprints and no timelines, is the next generation of American air power still on the drawing board?
Gaza has been a territory of death and destruction for many years. Make it a freedom zone. Let the United States get involved and make it just a freedom zone. People are living under the rubble of buildings that collapsed, which is not acceptable. If it's necessary, I think I'd be proud to have the United States have it, take it, make it a freedom zone. Well, we're working very hard on Gaza, and Gaza has been a territory of death and destruction for many years. And, I have concepts for Gaza that I think are very good. Make it a freedom zone. Let the United States get involved and make it just a freedom zone, have a real freedom zone. Because it seems that Gaza, every time, every 10 years it happens and more than that, it really happens all throughout. They've never solved the Gaza problem. And if you look at it, I have aerial shots where, there's practically no building standing. There's no building. People are living under the rubble of buildings that collapsed, which is not acceptable. It's tremendous death. And I want to see that be a freedom zone. And if it's necessary, I think I'd be proud to have the United States have it, take it, make it a freedom zone, let some good things happen, put people in homes where they can be safe, and Hamas is going to have to be dealt with. You got to remember, October 7th was one of the worst days in the history of the world, I think, not just local to this region. It was one of the worst, most atrocious attacks anyone's ever seen. But now we're dealing with Hamas, and we're dealing with Iran, and we're dealing with a lot of other things. We're dealing with the Houthis, and that was, I think, very successful. But maybe tomorrow an attack will be made, in which case we go back on the offensive. So it's good. It's good. We have a lot of things happening, a lot of very positive things happening.
From F-15 fighter jets to oil drops, from hair-tossing dances to AI mega deals, from a gifted jumbo jet to meeting a former enemy, Trump's West Asia tour was pure diplomatic theater and a $900 billion masterclass in power politics. Take a look at this report.
A welcome befitting royalty for the democratically elected U.S. president. Feted, praised and celebrated for 4 days in Gulf nations, starting with the lavender carpet rollout and a traditional Arabic coffee ceremony. After the pomp and the warmth, money followed. A staggering $600 billion committed in Saudi Arabia investments in everything U.S. from energy to infrastructure and defense.
Number one, I like visiting with you, and we've known each other very well, and I really believe we like each other a lot. And number two, for the United States, we've brought tremendous investment in and tremendous jobs, and we'll continue to service your great country very well. I appreciate it. It's a real honor.
A generous Trump then lifted sanctions on Syria and met its interim president, al-Shara, once an American outcast who carried a US bounty on his head for years. For Trump's next stop, 8 Qatari F-15s escorted Trump's Air Force One to Qatar. More visually stunning moments were in store. 2 red Tesla Cybertrucks led Trump's convoy through Doha, as police escort vehicles flashed lights modified for the occasion. Alongside the high-tech electric beasts marched mounted Arabian horses and camels, decked up in rich Qatari culture, pride and heritage. As for trade pledges, Qatar Airways placed a $96 billion order for 210 Boeing jets. The largest aviation deal was not all. Qatar even gifted Trump a Boeing 747 jet worth $400 million. Unused since 2020, it is now nicknamed the Thief of Doha for its controversial origins. Other honors included the FIFA ceremony handover, where Qatar officially passed the World Cup baton to the US. Again under escort, Trump then jetted to Abu Dhabi, where dancers performing a traditional Emirati hair-flipping dance, Al Ayala, brought social media alive. At the presidential palace, UAE conferred on Trump its highest civil honor, the Order of Zayed. High on symbolism, Trump's visit saw him getting a vial encasing a drop of oil from Saudi Arabia.
This is the highest quality oil there is on the planet, and they only gave me a drop. So I'm not thrilled. But still, it's better than no drop. Can you imagine? But anyway, but it's tremendous.
And this has become a globally recognized benchmark, Mr. President. Marban, that's called Marban.
Yep,
Thank you, sir.
Very well.
Among other historic deals, imports of 500,000 NVIDIA AI chips every year for UAE. A 5-gigawatt AI campus in Abu Dhabi. Trump capped his Abu Dhabi visit with a trip to Abraham House.
Well, it's just a message of unity when you look at what we've just seen. It's great unity, great faith, incredible people with a tremendous leader who's a friend of mine.
In Trump's own terms, this was a big and beautiful trip.
This week, a group of 59 white South Africans arrived in the US, where they've been granted refugee status. President Trump says the refugee applications were expedited because the people concerned were victims of racial discrimination, something South Africa's government denies. The Afrikaners are descended from Dutch settlers who arrived 4 centuries ago to South Africa and who led the government which brought in apartheid, a racially segregated political system which has led to discrimination against black South Africans, and it's no longer in force. Well, usually it takes years for the US government to process refugee applications, but this group waited only 3 months. Well, our North America correspondent Nomia Iqbal has been speaking to one of those who made the journey.
If you're white, you're wrong in South Africa. You're a land thief, you are a racist. The whole time it's being told, and there is racist white people, plenty of them.
You say you're not a racist white person?
No, not at all. I've got many black friends. I think I've got more African black men as friends as white friends. I'm tired of being told, just because I'm white, I'm a thief. Just because I'm white, I'm wrong in this. I had nothing to do with apartheid. Nothing, nothing, nothing.
Is there anything specific that's happened, Charles, that made you think, I've got to get out of here? I've got to leave.
After the death rates and stuff and my machinery being cut up, and I'm still, after reporting everything to the police, not getting any protection or anything like that. The only thing that's left on my farm is a sign that says mining area. All the fences has been taken off, boom gates has been broken off.
There are voices out there, including the South African president, who has called you cowards.
Yeah.
You've got other Afrikaners who are saying that you're not refugees, you're opportunists, that you've abandoned the country. What would you say to those people?
I had to leave a 5-bedroom house, which I will lose now because I'm not going to pay for it, behind, my car behind, my dogs behind, my mother behind. It is not, I didn't come here for fun, but my children are safe.
What was it like when you got off the shuttle bus and came into that hangar and were greeted by the Trump administration?
It was overwhelming. I didn't expect that because I thought we're going to be in a shuttle bus, taken somewhere, and we must start working. All of us that is there, we know we're going to start here from the bottom because we are the new people here. We're going to start from the bottom.
Do you ever worry that you might be caught up in some big political game here? That you're a pawn somehow?
Yeah, it's a scary thing, but people mustn't think we're just taking advantage of this. We're coming here to make a contribution to the country.
Old tweets of yours have been dug up in which you appear to have made anti-Semitic comments, and so people are questioning, should you be here?
Yeah,
what would you say to that?
I would like them...
What would you like to clarify?
I've deleted the comment, but I was actually thinking I should have not deleted it. If you can look where I commented on, it was Passover, the Orthodox Jews, and I'm Christian, were spitting and screaming and bumping Christians walking with the cross. For me as a Christian, that is not acceptable. In Israel, and I went and I said something on Twitter which I copy and pasted from somebody else's page, because if you go read my post you'll see it's not the way I write.
So you had quoted someone else. I mean, the quotes...
I copied and pasted it.
The quotes were anti-Semitic. Yeah. They said Jews are dangerous people, they're untrustworthy, they're not God's chosen people.
I was super angry.
So you did it out of anger?
Yeah. And I was in hospital at that point of time. I was on morphine. But that's not an excuse.
Drugs don't make you an anti-Semite though, do they?
Even now, if I would see any person going against my religion, I will speak up against it.
You have high hopes being here in America. Is there a part of you that is anxious that it might not work out?
No, to be honest with you, because of my belief, I believe this is God's plan for me.
I shook more hands than any human being is capable of doing. That was a long deal, and they were big people, but they were starving for love because our country didn't give them love. They gave them a fist bump. Remember the fist bump in Saudi Arabia? He travels all the way to Saudi Arabia in that case, and he gives them a fist bump. That's not what they want. They don't want a fist bump. They want to shake his hand.
Donald Trump this week had a historic tour of the Gulf monarchies in the Middle East. The subtext of all of these meetings were, we're going to replace strife with money, we're all going to be profitable, and we have to bring the cause of all of this trouble, Iran, into the fold of the Middle East and drop the hostility to Israel. Notice, of course, that he didn't go to Israel, although he was trying to elicit support for the continuation of the Abrams Accords. But one thing that's not going on is we're not being estranged from the Arab world. We're not being estranged from Israel. This is not Joe Biden mouthing off about the Saudis or the Israelis. It's a new type of approach to get the Arab world to drop their hostility to Israel. At the same time, he's trying to reason, if that's the right word, with an unreasonable Iranian regime. This is very ambitious, but it's also very dangerous. Let's see how it works in the ensuing months.
Let's now give you some news alert that's just come in, where Israel has carried out more bombings on Yemen's ports today. The Israeli Air Force has now struck the Hodeidah and the Salif ports in Yemen. Israel has claimed responsibility for these bombings, and the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has warned Yemen's Houthi rebels that there is more to come after the Air Force struck 2 Houthi ports following the missile attacks. Now, a video statement, Netanyahu has said, and I quote him here, our pilots now hit successfully 2 terror ports belonging to the Houthis. This is a continuation and there is more to come, and we are not willing to sit on the sidelines and let the Houthis attack us. We'll hit them far more, including their leadership and all their infrastructure that allows them to hit us. But the IDF has warned twice this week to evacuate the Houthi-controlled Ras Isa, Hodeidah and the Salif ports on the western coast of Yemen following several ballistic missile and drone attacks on Israel by the Houthis. So this, of course, is the latest of what is happening, where the Israelis have again gone on a rampage, bombing the ports of Yemen. And according to reports that have come in, the Israelis have bombed the Hodeidah and the Salif port in Yemen. Israelis have claimed responsibility for this attack, and Netanyahu has warned Yemen's Houthis that there is more to come after the Air Force, in fact, bombed these ports in Yemen.
India's message to Beijing is loud and clear. The Eastern Front is armed, alert and unafraid. The Indian Army is ready to strike back if China decides to test its resolve on the Eastern Front in any manner. The Indian Army has ramped up its combat preparedness near one of the country's most strategically vulnerable stretches, the Siliguri Corridor, also known as the Chicken's Neck. This narrow 22-kilometer wide land bridge connects mainland India to the northeast. And right next to it, at the Teesta Field Firing Range in West Bengal, India has staged a powerful, precision-heavy military exercise that signals far more than just routine readiness. It was an exhibition of modern warfare capabilities, not just a drill for optics, but for real-time, real-scale war simulation. Armored T-90 tanks powered through simulated battle zones. Sophisticated drones flew overhead, scanning targets. Multi-barrel rocket launchers were fired. Anti-tank missiles hit with deadly accuracy. Robotic dogs powered by AI entered simulated battlegrounds, symbolizing how warfare is being transformed by technology. And the Indian Army also field-tested an array of high-mobility, all-terrain vehicles, agile enough to move through snow-covered passes, rocky mountains, and even rivers. But the message was not in the machines alone, of course. It was in the coordination. Infantry units, artillery regiments, brigades, elite para-special forces coordinated their movements both in terms of firepower as well as strategy. And India was not just rehearsing defense. It was preparing to seize control if provoked. And this show of strength coming in the context of rising regional tensions, not just from China, but also from Bangladesh. Ever since former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's ouster in August last year, Bangladesh's interim government under Muhammad Yunus has made multiple comments about India's northeast and the Chicken's Neck specifically. And India is not ignoring that rhetoric. It is responding with action, in fact. And the latest exercise is not a one-off event. It's part of a pattern. In January, India launched Devil Strike, a joint operation by the Army and the Air Force near the Siliguri Corridor. In February, T-90 tanks rolled out for a live-fire exercise that lasted an entire month. March witnessed anti-tank guided missile drills by the Eastern Command of the Indian military, again at the Teesta range. And now this latest war simulation has set a whole new benchmark for battlefield readiness. And this is a consistent strategy, not a coincidence. India is not just reinforcing defenses, it is laying down a red line, whether the threat comes from across the border in China or from anywhere else. New Delhi is prepared to strike decisively.
Turkey, we will, God willing, continue to stand by our brotherly people of Pakistan in both good times and bad times. First of all, I would like to express our satisfaction with the ceasefire that has resulted from the tension that broke out between Pakistan and India. We have taken a very clear stance both regarding the heinous terrorist act in Jammu and Kashmir and the missile attacks against Pakistan, while openly declaring our support for our brotherly people of Pakistan. We also made intense efforts to de-escalate the tension that had reached very dangerous levels. The phone conversation I had with my brother, Prime Minister of Pakistan, Shehbaz Sharif, was quite significant. Once again, I congratulate our Pakistani brothers for their patience, common sense and prudent stance. At this stage, I would like to once again repeat our friendly warning not to fall for provocations. I hope that the calm achieved through the ceasefire will help facilitate the resolution of all other issues, especially the water problem. As Turkey, we will, God willing, continue to stand by our brotherly people of Pakistan in both good times and bad times.